Welcome into the WST Postgame reaction. My name is Connor Hrabchak. In a moment, I'm going to be joined by Tyson Rewucki, and together we're breaking down a fourth straight Winnipeg Jets loss. This one may be the ugliest of the four, a 5-1 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes in a game where the Winnipeg Jets finished with just 14 shots on goal. Thomas Milich makes his NHL debut in net, keeps the Jets in it for 50 minutes of that game, and Carolina scores 4 unanswered in the third period to take a 5-1 win. Seth Jarvis, the Winnipegger, with a hat trick for the Hurricanes. Let's bring him in. Tyson Rewucki from 680 CJOB, content producer over there, and of course the Skates and Plates podcast. Tyson, what are your kind of initial takeaways from another ugly loss for the Jets?
Well, that's not the way you want to start a weekend, right? Regardless. And with that afternoon game, now there's nothing else. It's in the rearview mirror, but man, this was a tough one to watch, especially after the effort against Washington. It wasn't there, and then we see it again in this one, right? And it's just the same old that we've seen with this team the past couple games. I mean, too many times, one and dones, right? Dump into the zone. Carolina gets there first. No pressure from the Jets. Pucks out of the zone. And it was just a lot of that all game, right? And, we're going to get into a wide variety of topics in this one. But, I mean, just the effort, that's the biggest thing for me, is that it's one thing to come in, you have all these injuries, but to come out in a game against Carolina, who is going to be bringing it in their home rink, to have that kind of effort. And like you mentioned, 14 shots, really?
Yeah.
14 shots. It's just not good enough right now.
No, it's not. It's really not. And before we get into some of our thoughts, I think a appropriate place to start is with the head coach's thoughts, because we've gotten some spicy Arneil comments, if you will, over the past couple of years. Last year, it was few and far between because they won all the time. And this year, he hasn't really gone to that, club in his bag, if you will, as the head coach very often. But Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press is on the road trip. We had him on the show this week on Winnipeg Sports Talk. He was asking the questions here post-game in the scrum to Scott Arneil. And here's what he had to say when asked about tonight's game.
Well, didn't start very good. First period, we had a lot of guys that forgot to show up. Start of the game. That first period, got the kid in net, and we take two sloppy penalties, but we get stuck in there a few times, lost a lot of battles. There's some structure stuff that we got away from, and the kid made some big stops, kept us in that one, and obviously allowed us a chance better in the second, a lot better in the second. Came out in the third doing the right things, and then it was too quick back. What is it, 8-minute mark? Back-to-back plays and their coverage plays. And both those plays came right down. One went off. One went off one of our defensemen. The other one, those are coming right down Grand Central. So that's on us. That's on. Feel for the kid, because he was giving us a chance.
So there's Scott Arneil post-game after the Carolina Hurricanes loss on this night, or the loss to the Carolina Hurricanes, I should say. And the first quote stood out to me the most. We had a lot of guys who didn't want to show up. And what he talked about with Thomas Milich there, Tyson, to me really, really stood out. When looking ahead with Connor Hellebuyck out, we kind of projected some of the starts, and you thought maybe Milich would get the second night of the back-to-back. Nashville, they score less. They're one of the worst teams in the NHL. That would be a natural one for him, but he actually gets the front end of the back-to-back. You said to me before on air, maybe a bit of an incentive, get the team to play well in front of him. And the game starts, and the shots are 6-0 Carolina. The Jets have taken 2 penalties. They don't show up on time. And going into the third period, you can make a serious argument that Thomas Milich was the best Winnipeg Jet in this game. A guy who's an AHL starter and is making his NHL debut in net, keeping the Jets in it for long extended stretches. And the Jets finished this game, like you said, right off the top, 14 shots on goal. It's just not good enough, especially with a guy like Thomas Milich in net making his first ever NHL start. I thought he was great, honestly, given the circumstances, but just a poor effort in front of a guy making his first NHL start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he brought his game tonight. And, one thing that I thought really stood out, especially, was his puck battling, like in front of the net, where he was really fighting through screens. They were generating a ton of traffic in front. He was still able to maneuver the net front presence and kind of still be able to see a lot of those shots. And outside of that last goal at the end by Nikishin, where the game's already out of hand, I mean, you can't really fault him on any of those. It's just, I mean, Scott Arneil said it perfectly. If you play a second period like that and that's your best period, that's just not good enough. And not enough guys showed up, like Arneil said too. It's weird to see this Jets team compared to the team that we saw last year, right? And you kind of look at it and think almost everything went right for the team last year. And that had resulted in a President's Trophy. And now we're seeing what happens when some of the things don't kind of click for the Jets. And right now they're just really in a slump. And, you know, first line again, look great, right? Like, I'm glad they look great. The rest of the lineup is anemic outside of Cole Perfetti in this one, who had a couple of good chances. And Connor, I wonder, like, how close are we to finally seeing that top line broken up? Because we know they're able to score. We know that Mark Scheifele can carry the load offensively on that top line with Kyle Connor and Gabe Vilardi. But these other lines just do not generate anything. They're even, like, nothing. And you can't build momentum off that. Say the top line goes out there and has a great shift. Then what's next? Dump and chase. Puck out of the corner. Sustain D-zone pressure from the opposition. And just snowballs. And we've seen that. And that's exactly what Carolina did. You know, they kind of smelled blood in the water. They didn't play a great second period, Carolina. And then once they smelled that blood in the water, they turned it up a notch. And the Jets just were not able to kind of match that intensity. Exactly. There's just not enough urgency from this Jets team.
No, there isn't. And we brought up this point, Remus and I, after the Washington game, but it's the exact same point I'm going to make on this one. The top line tonight at 5-on-5 generated 4 scoring chances and 1 high danger chance. The rest of the lines combined generated 4 scoring chances and 1 high danger chance. So I was joking to some friends that this Winnipeg Jets team, you know, if you think you have to wait until the intermissions to go to the bathroom or grab a beverage, you don't. Just wait till the Scheifele line goes off and you probably have enough time before they get back on the ice. Like, they're the definition of a one-line hockey team right now. And I agree with you. I'm glad you mentioned Cole Perfetti, because I actually thought, you know, there's been not a lot of offensive pulse from the bottom 9, but in this game, I thought he actually generated quite a bit. He set up some players for chances. He himself had a few chances, a look on the power play as well. But man, there's just no production. And maybe by the end of this post game, I can find kind of the last 9 games and run through some of the droughts, but it's extensive right now. The last player who's not named Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Gabe Vilardi, or Josh Morrissey to score a goal for the Winnipeg Jets was Logan Stanley's clapper against the Blue Jackets, which was 4 games ago now. And now they've lost 4 straight, and that's that. So, man, it's just 14 shots on goal. The expected goal is 3.13 to 1.4 in Carolina's favor. That absolutely matches the eye test. They generated more on this night. Milic kept the Jets in it. And then the third period was just a mess from a Winnipeg perspective. One silver lining maybe, and maybe this is another feather in Thomas Milic's cap, is the penalty kill, 0 for 4. I actually thought, you know, Sandberg, DeMello, Solommonson all had a number of blocked shots, and Milic was good in that sense as well. But yeah, they showed the Sportsnet graphic, and maybe I still have it here. I do, from the Washington game, where they're the oldest team in the league, and they're, by speed bursts, NHL Edge data, the slowest team in the league, 32nd in 18 to 20 mile an hour bursts, 32nd in 20 to 22 mile an hour bursts. And there's just these games where the Winnipeg Jets look good for 5 to 6 minute stretches. And this game, maybe they didn't have that stretch or a number of those stretches, but in those stretches, they don't look slow. They're skating, they're making short area passes, they're playing connected, all of those things that we were used to the Jets doing last year. And then they'll just go on 5 to 10 minute to 20 minute stretches, like the third period tonight, or maybe even the first 10 of the first, where this graphic is just on full display when I'm watching this team. You know, like, they're just getting skated out of the building. You have Nikolai Ehlers making plays as a great reminder of the speed that this team lost in the offseason. And it was a night like tonight where the Jets just couldn't keep up with the Carolina Hurricanes for 3 periods, Tyson.
Yeah, and that's a great point there, just about the connectiveness between the team, because it's essentially, for the most part, the same team as last year, outside of Nikolai Ehlers, of course. And those speed bursts, I mean, there's a difference between playing fast and skating fast. And when you're able to move the puck effectively, make those extra passes that just open up ice a little bit more, that makes your team seem a lot faster. When you're trying to do what they did in the first and third period, where it's let's get the puck in and let's bang it out and let's win some battles, the Carolina defense is too mobile and they just don't have enough juice to kind of get in there. And like I mentioned at the start, there's just too many one and dones where the puck goes in and nothing comes out of it. And it's just kind of like a throwaway there. And I've seen that over the past 4 games here. There's just not enough being done from outside of the top line there. And there's just the thing that worries me the most is I don't know what the solution is at this point. I mean, do you call up another young guy? Do you give Lambert more responsibility, even though he didn't look great in the stints that he did have? Do you give a guy like Braden Yeager a shot? Or your only other option at this point is to make a move? And who's really out there right now with how tight the playoff race is? There's not really too many teams that are looking to kind of offload guys. And so now you're kind of in this situation where you really have to dig deep and kind of find out exactly what we're going to do to solve this, because there's just not enough being done right now.
Yeah, the solutions part of it, I've found myself kind of grappling with that as well over the past number of days. And like, yeah, maybe Brad Lambert comes in and gives a spark in the bottom 9, or maybe they reshuffle the lines again in the bottom 9. But we talked about it going into today's game, and I was ready for it going into tonight's game. I think coming out of tonight's game, yes, the top line is going right now, but where has that gotten the Winnipeg Jets over the past number of games, right? Like, Mark Scheifele is absolutely playing great hockey. He's motivated to make Team Canada. Every time he's on the ice, he's generating offense. He's battling on the walls. I think he can drive his own line. I think Kyle Connor can drive his own line. So I think splitting those players up, trying to spread the offense out a little bit would be interesting. And it's really, I mean, they can reshuffle the bottom 9 again if they want, but they've done that so far this season, and it's been up and down with mixed results. So that's something we'll have to see. They're right back at it tomorrow night, Saturday in Nashville. And that's a must win. I mean, you can't lose 5 straight. Losing to Nashville, I know it's second night of a back-to-back, but everyone, Nashville played today. So it's a lot going on with this Winnipeg Jets team right now. I do want to ask you, Tyson, your thoughts on Elias Solommonson. He's played 2 games now. Obviously, I did the post game with Remus on in the loss to the Washington Capitals, but including the Capitals game in your analysis, and tonight where he played with Josh Morrissey for the back 40 minutes of this game, what did you think, or what have you thought of Elias Solommonson in 2 games here?
Well, there's enough flashes to see that he's going to be a player, right? I mean, it's only his second game in the NHL, and he's had 2 kind of tough matchups, and that's what Arneil kind of alluded to in his presser as well, that you're kind of getting thrown right into the deep end there, right? And he's, he played with Dylan Sandberg the last game as well, so it's not like he's getting sheltered, right? He is facing some really solid competition, and you see the puck moving abilities. He hits the post in this one, and you wish that one goes in, and all of a sudden maybe that game's a little bit different. But Solommonson is going to be a guy who is going to be a pillar for this Jets decor for the next little while. And I'm almost wondering, Connor, the way things have been going, is this just full time now? It's kind of like now you've been inserted into the lineup, and I don't really disagree with that kind of train of thought, because I don't want to see Luke Shen in the lineup. The guy's been a soldier. He's been a warrior his whole career. The game's just kind of passed him by, and I think that Solomonson's been better than Colin Miller has in these last couple of games. And clearly the Jets don't necessarily see Colin Miller in that rotation because he's barely played as much this year. But there's enough paw plays out of Elias Solommonson, despite some of the misplays in these past 2 games. But he's going to be a player, and I think that he did the best that he could. He's still trying to figure the pace of play out, but there's a lot of good things to come out of his game, even if you are going to see the occasional mishap. I think he's going to be a really solid contributor for this team this year, and then down the line, he's going to be a huge piece for this team.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially the Washington game. Like, he had the 2 glaring errors on goals against, which, it's a rookie making his NHL debut. I'm willing to maybe excuse that a little bit, but he made so many poised plays with the puck, nice passes to the middle of the slot from Mark Scheifele, all of those things. And tonight, I mean, he gets paired up with Josh Morrissey for the back 40 minutes and started the third period, jumps into the slot when he sees an opportunity and rings one right off the crossbar, that close to his first NHL goal. And I thought, even in these last 2 games, you're just seeing him be more and more confident. So it's interesting that you bring up, is Solommonson just like full time now? When they called him up, they put Hellebuyck on IR. Hayden Fleury is also on injured reserve right now, and he's not on the road trip. So presumably Solomonson's here for the rest of the road trip, and then Fleury will have to come back. And then when they activate him from IR, then a move has to be made somewhere if they wanted to keep Solommonson on the roster, right? So I don't know. I think he has a little bit of a runway here to play and impress Scott Arneil enough to stay in the lineup. And if the Jets are, they don't have time to wait either. They don't have time to be like, well, we'll bring Solommonson back in March when, we really need him for the stretch run. No, they're 12-11. They're 3-8-0 in their last 11. They've lost 4 straight. Like they're 26th in the NHL right now. They don't have time to wait. And if Solommonson is one of their 6 best defensemen, they have to find a way to get him in the lineup and keep him in the lineup right now, at least in my opinion. So that's going to be something to track as well. Scott Arneil was asked about that flip, Solommonson up to the top pair after the game. And he mentioned that had to do with guys not being ready to go or not showing up to the game on time, I think is the exact language he used. So maybe that was a shot at Dylan DeMello. He had 2 penalties in this game. DeMello did. So Solommonson maybe didn't get the bump because he was playing so well, but still got a look on the top pairing, and I thought handled himself well. And like you said, Tyson, 2 very tough matchups. I mean, you get the pregame ceremony with Alex Ovechkin. The guy scored over 900 goals. Or you face Tom Wilson and Alexei Protas on their second line. Tonight, Ehlers, Aho, Jarvis gets a hat trick. Like those are 2 tough matchups on the road. So excited to see what Solommonson can do going forward. Is there anything else that you want to mention on this game, Tyson? Yeah, go for it before we move on.
Just kind of, just because you mentioned it there, but we mentioned it on our pod a little bit over the last couple weeks, but I wonder, do the Jets have a Dylan DeMello problem? Like, is he still that guy who can be that top pair D-man with Morrissey? I mean, it's been a bit of a struggle these past 2 seasons. Since he signed the contract extension, it's been a little bit of a go this last little bit. And, you want to see that him kind of bounce back because he's been such a good soldier for this team. Mm-hmm. He's beloved in the locker room, but it's just not really clicking right now. And the way that D pair has been looking, and Morrissey's going to be Morrissey, right? He's a top 3 D-man in the league, but there's too many times I feel like in front of the net, he doesn't win battles too many times in front of the net there. And there's just been too many D lapses over these past couple of weeks now. And so you almost wonder, is this a precursor to future moves coming up where maybe Elias Solommonson does get a little bit more ice time going forward?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's fair to say that the ideal version of the Winnipeg Jets this season is if Elias Solommonson or an outside addition, let's say, can play with Josh Morrissey, and then Dylan DeMello is a third pair guy. I much prefer Dylan DeMello as, playing with Logan Stanley in sheltered minutes. I think he would shred those minutes, but I think it's a fair question to ask, especially with what we've seen over the last number of games. Dylan DeMello so far this season, he's having, ups and downs, let's say, because Josh Morrissey has been awesome, and I think he deserves a little bit of credit for that, but the lows are low, and I'd say today was one of the lows. I'm going to bring up natural stat trick here just before we get to our hardest working Jet, and it's not analytics. I'm talking goals, assists, and points, so don't get scared away by natural stat trick, but this is the last 10 games at 5-on-5 for the Winnipeg Jets. Here are the totals. So you've got Scheifele, Morrissey, Connor, Velarde. Those guys are producing. Velarde has 2 goals at 5-on-5. Connor, we're not including the power play because the bottom 9 players don't play on the power play. The top line, they're cooking, whatever. Nino Niederreiter, 1 goal, 2 assists. Adam Lowry, 1 goal, 2 assists. Logan Stanley, 1 goal. The clapper against Columbus, that was one of the Jets' 5-on-5 goals. Alex Iafallo has a goal. Jonathan Taves has 1 goal. Tanner Pearson has 1 goal. DeMello, Shen, Pionk, Perfetti. Let me keep scrolling down. Nyquist, Nemesnikov, Fleury, Samberg. Chibrikov got in the last 10 games. Ford got in. Miller, Barron, Kepke, Salo, all with 0. And there are some players up there when you look at, Jonathan Taves, no assists, just the 1 goal at 5-on-5 in the last 10 games. Cole Perfetti, just 1 secondary assist at 5-on-5 in the last 9 games. So you described it earlier as anemic when talking about the bottom 9. I agree. Like there's no pulse there. And I don't know what the solution is within the bottom 9 of the guys right now, outside of splitting up the top line. But a lot of goal scoring droughts will be snapped, or pointless streaks will be snapped the next time any of those players score or get on the score sheet in any capacity right now. At 5-on-5, that's where the Winnipeg Jets need to start generating more offense, and that's where it's been dry these last number of games, resulting in 4 straight losses and 12th in the Western Conference right now. So let's get to our first of 2 segments here. Standout stat, I feel like we might have a lot to choose from. But first, let's hit this one.
The hardest working Jet.
The hardest working Jet of the game. It's the Hard Hat Award. We give it to the Jet who we thought worked the hardest in the game. And Tyson, there are still a few options here, I'd say. You and I were talking beforehand. There are some guys to choose from here. Who's your hardest working Jet from tonight's game?
Well, because I come from a goalie family, I think I would. Nice. I think I'd get in a lot of trouble if I didn't take him for this one. But I mean, it's got to be Thomas Milich. I mean, he was the only guy that showed up at the start of this game, and he did everything that he could. And, mentioned the puck battling in front of the net and just being able to see through screens, especially not as a overly big goalie too. Mm-hmm. So it was just nice to see that, where you don't really see that as much in the NHL anymore. So that was really good to see. And just, his ability to track the puck, he was reading plays really well, and, mentioned that last goal, but at that point, the game's already over. I think that's a really promising first career start for Thomas Milich, and that kind of builds into, down the line where, this is thinking way in the future, but, you have your backup. If Eric Comrie does end up leaving the Jets organization in the next few years, you have Thomas Milich in there that after this game, and yes, it's only one game, a lot can happen. Mm-hmm. I feel confident in his ability to be that number 2 behind Hellebuyck for the next couple of years once Comrie leaves. But yeah, we all watched that first period, and I think after that first period, excuse me, but after that first period, there's not too much argument over who was the hardest worker.
No, there wasn't. He would have been my pick if you hadn't taken him. And yeah, 4 goals against, but the last one, whatever, the empty net goal. This looks a lot worse on him than it really was. Made over 30 saves in his NHL debut, and he earned the call up. Him and Dom DiVincentis are the 2 prospect goalies. They easily could have called up DiVincentis if he was playing better at the time. But with the Moose this year, he was 5-2-2. 921 save percentage and a 214 goals against average. So Milic having a good start to his season. And I wanted this one for him so badly, especially with how well he battled in the first period to keep the Jets in it early. And he got a penalty in this one too, which I don't know. Come on. That one was a little ticky-tack. I'm sure the rule states that you can't cover the puck. You come from a goalie family. What did you think of the penalty on Thomas Milic?
I think it was a penalty, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, come on, just throw a bone here.
Exactly.
This kid's playing out of his mind right now. Just give him, and even he said in the post game too, I got a pretty good explanation from the ref as to why they ended up calling that. And it was just, it just sucks because he makes such a good effort on that play too. Yeah. Right. And I believe that was Colin Miller made a really good effort on that well with that play. So yeah, it's a weird one. You're not going to see it too often, but I think they got it right. But you kind of wish it was one of those ones where they just let the boys play here. Yeah,
exactly. And it's not, I feel like usually the rule is if you cover it behind the net, you're delaying the game. Obviously, you got a delay of game. But I feel like that's different if a goalie goes out to shoot the puck around and then just drops on it and covers it, as opposed to he's sliding across to make a save. The puck just lands at his right on the ice and he covers it. I don't know.
It's still kind of in sequence, right?
Yeah, it's all a part of the flow of him making the save. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But oh well, Thomas Milic battled his ass off, so a worthy pick for hardest working Jet in this one. My pick's going to be Elias Solommonson. He had 4 blocked shots after the first period, got the bump up to play with Josh Morrissey in this game as well. And I thought, like I said, looked more comfortable as the game went on. Played 19 minutes and 17 seconds in this game, so got a bump up in that sense. 4 blocked shots, all of which came in the first period. He had 1 shot on goal and 1 shot that doesn't count as a shot on goal, but nailed the crossbar, like I said earlier. He had a hit and I thought was looking more comfortable defending as well, where, the John Carlson goal in the Washington game, maybe he's a little too deep on that 3-on-2 rush. He managed a few 2-on-2, 3-on-2 rushes a little bit better. That gap was a little bit tighter in this game. So I'm going to go with Elias Solommonson. I thought he was the hardest working Jet. Well, the second, because I would have taken Milic if you didn't, but the second hardest working Jet in tonight's game. Let's get to the second segment before we wrap today's show, Tyson. Let me just get the graphic up here. This is a standout stat of the game, and there's a lot that we could probably choose from, a lot of maybe ugly stats. Where are you going to go for the standout stat from tonight's game?
Well, it's kind of an easy one, but I feel like it kind of encapsulates what we've seen in this game and then also during this losing streak, and that's just 14 shots on goal.
Yeah.
And we talked about the offense drying up, and you were showing the last 10 games too. And if we go through the whole season, excluding the big four, and I'm in the big four, I'm including the top line and Josh Morrissey. You look at the Jets' top scorers after that: Nino Niederreiter, Dylan DeMello, Logan Stanley. You cannot have two of your defensive defensemen top 7 in scoring on your team.
Yeah.
That is just not a recipe for success. And then I'm not a math wizard, so please, if my math seems off, you're correct me. But looking at, and it's kind of hard to call them the second or third line because it's kind of anyone's guess which line's which at this point.
Yeah.
But kind of using the Taves, Nemestikov, all those guys, they are on pace for under 35 points this year.
Mm-hmm.
And for Taves, a guy who has been playing almost second line minutes for most of the season, that's just not good enough. And it really does just tie in what the biggest problem with this Jets team has been over this last little bit. And for the foreseeable future, unless something drastic happens, it's going to continue to be a problem.
For sure. The secondary scoring is something that we talked about before the season was starting. It's something that we'll continue to talk about. And when it's this much of an issue, how could you not talk about it, right? So I'm totally with you on that. I think that's a good standout stat from tonight's game. Personally, I'm going to go with you mentioned, the pace that these players are on. I'm going to go with 30 points. That's how much Jonathan Taves is on pace for. I know, some media members would list that as the fourth line. I did as well, but he played the second most minutes in the Washington game, meaning he was the second line center, and had been the second line center really all of this season, and is on pace for 8 less points and 1 less goal than Vlad Nemestikov had last season as the Winnipeg Jets second line center. So as a player who was brought in, maybe not for offense, they still, I think, would have expected more than a 30-point pace as we sit here through 22 or 23 games for the Winnipeg Jets so far this season. So I'm going to go with 30 points. Jonathan Taves, that's how much he's on pace for, and just the 1 goal in his last 11 games, and no assists over that time either. So the Winnipeg Jets need a pulse of offense from their bottom 9. And we'll see if they get it tomorrow night, Saturday in Nashville. Tyson, what will you be watching for in that game? Outside of, you could answer potential line changes up front. I think that might be overdue at this point.
Yeah, no, and I would really like to see kind of Scheifele and Blarty stick together and then put Kyle Connor with Cole Perfetti. And whoever you're going to put with those two, those are the duos. And coaches, for the most part, kind of like to put 2 guys together on a line and then figure out who that third piece is on that line. Mm-hmm. And I just think that those two, you mentioned earlier just how Mark Scheifele has been able to kind of carry his own line. You're paying Kyle Connor almost $13 million after this season.
Yeah.
He's going to have to, step up and play away from Mark Scheifele. Like, it's great the first line's doing good. Fantastic. But
Hang the banner. Hang the banner. Yeah. Top line's rolling. Can't wait to look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I hate to say this, and we haven't even hit the 25 game mark yet, but do you think this is a must-win game?
Tomorrow? Well, okay. The last road trip, I deemed the Calgary game, which to end the road trip, I deemed it a can't lose because Calgary's 32nd in the league. It's not a must-win. There's no must-wins this early in the season. But, man, to drop to 12-12 on a 5-game losing streak against Nashville... Oof. And your road trip's not even done yet. It's a game that they've got to have. They've got to have it. So I don't know if I'll go as far as to say must win. I feel like I save those for game 7s, but maybe it can't lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, like I said, we're not even at 25 games, and that's like I try not to veer too far into the oh my gosh, this is DEFCON 1.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we need to figure out, but we're getting there. We're slowly getting there, and each game you get that little bit more added anxiety, and just want to see a little bit more urgency out of this club.
Agreed. And you look at, going back to Connor Hellebuck's injury and the day that we found out about it, I think a lot of people took the mindset that, like, yes, we all have faith in Eric Comrie to, play at an average goaltending level, but this could absolutely sink the Jets season, and now they've lost 4 straight games since that report came out that he'll miss 4 to 6 weeks. It's been about a week, so 3 to 5 now, and you lost 4 straight. You're going into Nashville. I don't know, man. It's time to right the ship, end this losing streak, because that was one thing as well, just to close out today's show. One thing the Jets were so good at last year is not letting 2 and 3 game losing streaks end up in 5 and 6. So we'll see if they can end this one tomorrow night against Nashville and get back on track. And then they get Buffalo, and then they get Montreal, then they get Buffalo again. So, maybe that the schedule is helping them out a little bit here, getting Nashville and Buffalo twice in the next 4 games. But they got to take advantage of that and win those games to get back on track here, where things are looking dire, to say the least. Tyson, before we go, let people know where they can find some of your content at CJOB and the Skates and Plates podcast. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, of course. Always a blast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find Skates and Plates. Post episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And for Jets at Noon, again, wherever you find your podcast, there's content every single day. So there's always going to be, even on weekends. So there's going to be a lot of, if you just need your little fix of Jets talk, and then we even do a little bit of side NHL stuff as well. So if you want a little bit of NHL talk as well, got a lot of content there. So wherever you find your podcast, you can find Skates and Plates and Jets at Noon.
Love it. Really appreciate you joining me on the post game tonight. I said last time that you were on, we'll try and get you a better game. Again, well, maybe it's just better in terms of we had more stuff to talk about. I don't know. But
you talk about urgency, and
yeah,
I mean, what, 0-3 now?
You're 0-3, I know. Yeah, holy moly. Well, we'll try and get you back on a few times in December, and maybe we'll get you for a Buffalo game or something, and try and get you back on track. Much like the Winnipeg Jets, or much like Tyson with these post games, the Jets will look to get back on track with a game tomorrow night, Nashville Predators. Thanks, Tyson, for joining me. We'll have the full reaction to the Saturday Nashville game Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Liz and I will fire up WST Sunday live. And it might be just an hour and a half long therapy session. We'll see how tomorrow goes against Nashville. But the Jets, 4 straight losses reeling here without Connor Hellebuck, can't score a goal. That's a bad mix. And we just spent 33 minutes talking about it. So thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button down below and join us Sunday morning at 9 a.m. We'll break down the Nashville game Saturday night and look ahead to the week ahead for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll talk to you then. Take care.